Thank you so much. It's really great to kind of see everybody kind of there. It's really amazing to have so many of us on here for this important event. I want to welcome you to the third 2020 TUPIT-TERN Symposium. This one is called College, Coming Home, and Community. And I am Hillary Binda. I'm the director of TUPIT, and which includes now the TUPIT Education Reentry Network, or TERN. I'm really lucky to be working in this capacity with all of these tremendous people. So, and I'm talking about really all of you. So my guess is that if you're on this Zoom, you have helped in some way. So, so I guess first I just open with thank you to each of you. TUPIT, as people know, many of you probably know, we have a 3-year degree program that we run with Bunker Hill Community College at the men's medium security prison in Concord, Massachusetts. And we have, as our students started to come home, we knew before we started that we wanted to have a program for them so that we could continue to support them on the outside. And so we have been able to do that thanks to Tufts and thanks to many of you. Thanks to lots of organizations in Boston that have supported the program. I want to put out a big thanks, and then Claudia will thank our sponsors more widely, but to the Cummings Foundation for having really launched this initiative with a very generous grant. The Tufts Education Reentry Network has, with quite a bit of, it is a group of mostly formerly incarcerated people who I and others at Tufts have worked with and many of the students in the group today have worked with to create a program for people coming home that made sense, that allows people to continue with college or to begin college. So one of the things that's really exciting about this program is that we've been able to not only take our wonderful students from Concord, but also to open the doors to people who may not have who did not have that opportunity in college, and it's a very limited opportunity to be able to do college inside. So we have been truly blessed with some really wonderful people who have joined the TERN network and joined the My TERN program, and you're going to get to hear from them today. So I guess I want to add also that, you know, we do this in partnership with a number of what we now call My TERN mentors, who are formerly incarcerated people who are professionals in the community, have just a tremendous amount to give and for us to learn from. I want to also stress that this is an experience that certainly the Tufts faculty and students are learning as much, if not much more, from the students, the My TERN students, and our My TERN mentors. So I am going to pass the baton now to my kind of director assistant, who is a student, who many of you know, Claudia Guetta, who has been with this initiative since she started at Tufts a few years ago, in a very full way, and had a kind of awakening as she took the first Inside Out class, her first Inside Out class as a first-year student, and has been and somehow has managed to also fulfill medical school pre-med requirements and get into medical school. I don't know how, because she spends more time on this project than I do. So I am going to let Claudia introduce the My TERN program, and then we'll pass it to Arlise to introduce tonight's event.
Hi, thank you, Hillary. I am Claudia. I'm a junior at Tufts. as Hillary said, I'm a student coordinator for TUPIT-TERN and have been working on this for my past 3 years at Tufts. Also, as Hillary introduced, TUPIT is kind of an umbrella with multiple components, but to kind of introduce what we're doing here tonight and what we've been doing all semester, we wanted to introduce My Turn, which is our piloting reentry program. So this is a Tufts accredited 4-course, 12-credit certification program designed by and for people who are directly impacted by the carceral system, providing education and mentorship by and to those who have been directly impacted by the criminal justice system. So My Turn is serving as a pathway to continued higher education and also meaningful employment post-incarceration. More specifically, the program is composed of 4 different courses and a hands-on experience program. So that was also designed by our professional team members with lived experience of incarceration who continue to work with the Tufts faculty and Tufts students and everyone who's a part of the Tufts Education Reentry Network. So the first course is a combined group of Medford and My Turn students. This is the group that you're hearing from tonight. And that course is a semester-long accredited interdisciplinary writing course called the Literatures of Justice. And so we're studying texts from literary arts and history and sociology, learning and critically thinking all together about topics of educational inequity, legislation, gender and sexuality, abolition, civic engagement, and justice. Course 2 that is also happening this semester and is also a combined nature, so My Turn students and Medford students, a different group of Medford students that you can hear from at our next symposium in December. And that course is individualized and group training towards computer proficiency, so working with Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, producing resume drafts, undergoing interview and professional career preparation, and so that's a lot of one-on-one tutorial support. Starting next semester, we'll have course 3 and course 4. So course 3 is another accredited course. It's a STEM course called Intro to Coding, familiarizing our students with computer coding and website development, taught by our Tufts faculty, Kim Ruane, who's here. And course 4 also next semester, another accredited course called Financial Math. And so that is going to facilitate small business plan development and writing actual loan applications. And that is instructed by one of our formerly incarcerated My Turn mentors, Jim Carey, who also might be here, I'm not sure. And then almost weekly, as Hillary mentioned, we have mentors speaking to My Turn and Medford students who are professionals who are formerly incarcerated and are serving as guides for people who are newly returning home and just working to support and define and promote what success means. So that's the My Turn program. I know that we'll talk a lot about the impacts of this program as the night goes on, but as a Module 1 Medford student, I just want to share how thankful I am for all that I've been taught by my co-learners in this module. We're all kind of together redefining the identity of a Tufts student and what that means, and I'm just so thankful for what we've shared with each other and how that molds my own goals, and for just all of the laughter and the tears in our class that make up our transformative relationships with each other, and both the discomfort and confidence that this class inspires, and just the respect and the role models in this space. There's a lot of chaos happening right now and a lot of change to bring about, but working together and kind of understanding individuality and thinking about groups that we're used to theorizing about kind of gives a sense of purpose and just reinvigorates what we're doing, and we're all doing it together and are a lot more powerful that way. So I'm just really thankful. And finally, I just want to thank our really generous sponsors who make events like tonight possible and the program as a whole possible. So a big thanks to Tufts for just all of the resources and the credits, to Tisch College for all of your support, and the Center for the Enhancement of Learning and Teaching, the Arts and Sciences and Engineering Diversity Fund, the Women's Gender and Sexuality Studies, Theater, Dance, and Performance Studies, English, religion, anthropology, and sociology departments. And an extra special thank you to the PD Green program and Lynn Sullivan just for your constant support of TUPIT and My Turn, and generous and really critical trainings for our Medford students doing this work. So that's all for me. I want to introduce our brilliant My Turn student, Arlise, who will talk about what tonight's event consists of. But it's been so amazing working with all of the My Turn students. But TUPIT in the past has worked in men's facilities, so having women in the program is so exciting, and just being able to learn with Arlise and hear her stories and learn from her has been amazing. So I'll let her take over.
Thank you, Claudia. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming tonight. We have a planned discussion tonight about reentry and education and some of the barriers that we face when coming home from prison. At the end of our discussion, we will welcome questions. Please save your questions for the end of for the end, please. Thank you. Our first question tonight is going to Shakir. Shakir, how are you?
Shakir, can you unmute yourself?
Okay, can you hear me?
Good
Yeah.
evening, Shakir.
Oh, good. How are you, Elise?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
Shakir, my first question is to you tonight. What has surprised you so far about the experience of transition from incarceration to post-incarceration?
The thing that has surprised me the most is that I did 30 years in prison straight, and I came straight from prison back to the community. And when that happened to me, I was appointed to be evaluated by a therapist. And so when I initially went and visited the therapist, he had his legs crossed on the desk. He was smoking one of those vape cigarettes. I'm just looking at him. But he started asking me all these questions about my life because he was trying to find out where the deviation happened in my life. So as he's writing these questions, I'm looking at the diagram that he's writing. And so it triggered one of the classes I had actually taken, a health and human rights class where we had taken about genogram. So once he was done, and I explained to him about the diagram that he was using, he was ecstatic. He said he never heard someone that's been incarcerated relate something about genograms to him. So we got into a discussion about that. And so every time I go, my discussions about the topics that we have in the class with the professors. And so a couple of weeks ago, I was on my way home from an errand that I had to run, and my phone rang. And when my phone rang, it was John. His name is John, the therapist. So he asked me, he said, Shakir, I need you to do something for me. And I said, well, what's that? He said, I have these 5 federal prisoners come and visit me. I want to know, can you come and speak with them? So at that moment, I didn't really know, how to respond to that. So what I did was I called my professor, Hillary Bender, and I related the conversation to her about it. And she said, well, yeah, go ahead, you'll be fine. So I said, thanks. And so I got back with him. I said, sure, I would. So he said, okay, tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So he sent me a text with a whole list of questions that he wanted me to ask the people. I said, there's no way I can ask them all those questions in 30 minutes. So I went the following day and we introduced ourselves to the guys, and I had a really, really good conversations with the men and everything. And we just talked about prioritizing your life. So for me, that in itself was the most surprising thing to me, because here's a therapist that the parole board had signed for to examine me. And here it is that he's taking me and he's using me as a means to convey a message to other people. So I thought that was just so amazing. And he wrote a beautiful letter for me that I sent to the parole board where my parole officer is going to send to the parole board. So I think that was so surprising to me that he would do something like that. So So with that, I want to move on to Joseph, and I want to pose a question to him. What do people need to know about this experience of reentry, and what is one change you would like to see implemented in Massachusetts, Joseph?
Thank you, Shakir.
You're welcome.
Wow, so what people need to know about this experience of reentry, there's a lot to say about it. I've been home about, I want to say 5 months and when I first came home, like the first month, it was remarkable. It was June, going into July, everything was just blissful. You know, it was as a person may imagine it to be after 20 years of incarceration. There was a lot of affection, you know, from family, from friends, and it just felt like things just could not be any better, and things could not get any worse. You know, it was just a remarkable experience. However, after the honeymoon period of a few weeks of being free, you know, reality has to sit in. You have to now start to become responsible and seek out identification, you know, seek out employment, seek out ways to be independent on your own, to take on more responsibilities of being a citizen in our country, in the state of Massachusetts. And I found hurdle after hurdle after hurdle and many blockades pertaining to identification. Um, I could not get my life straight. If it were not for the fact that my family owned a restaurant, I probably would have never had a job. You know, and that was one of the things that actually provided me some kind of responsibility in my life post incarceration. But as far as anything else, reentry for any person is very different, but it's also still very hard with all the differences, you know. Just with the few guys and girls that we have, guys and gals that we have in our class, that just have came home, we don't all have the same issues, but we all are feeling the pressure. You know, every day is something different, you know, and it's a matter of how we're gonna cope with it. You know, it's fortunate, but yet unfortunate at the same time that we learn ways to cope with our reality because of prison. You know, prison is a traumatic place to be at. And I think a lot of the ways that we've learned to cope out here is from the skills that we've gained while incarcerated. It shouldn't be that way, you know, but outside of finding reentry so hard, despite identification and employment and finding a way to house yourself, I think some of the other hurdles may be your family. You know, your family have, you know, some expectations of you sometimes. You know, they have this idea of who you should become once you're free. And sometimes that goes against as to who you actually developed yourself to be. You know, so those are some of the hurdles as well. You know, and it's constant. So it's a matter of deciding where do you fit in and where do you go and how much of yourself do you give, you know, or how much of yourself do you decide that, you know what, I'm just going to be completely selfish and just think about myself and what I need to do and stop talking to some people, you know. So reentry is really hard. It has its ups and downs. For some, it's a little bit easier than others, you know, but nonetheless, it's still a struggle, you know. Yeah. So, you know, it's very interesting. And with that, you know, I would like to ask Carolina, you know, what are some of the things you have learned about the impact of incarceration on people after they come out, and what are some priorities you see in addressing the issues?
Yeah, thank you, Joseph. So what's become so apparent to me, especially through this program, is seeing just how wrong observers and policymakers are when they view this reentry trajectory as one that begins from incarceration and confinement to release to somehow freedom. And I think that there is a lot to challenge and to disentangle from this concept of, or this assumption that incarcerated people, once they come out, that they're somehow free. The challenges, the big thing is that the challenges and barriers don't just disappear once these folks leave these brick and mortar buildings. And I was first exposed to this in my home state of Florida. up until 2018, Florida was one of only 4 states that did not restore the voting rights to people with prior felony convictions. And this, of course, has massive implications because it relates to voting power, and it relates to the ability of folks to vote for people who can then affect policy changes that they want to see. And I remember these conversations with so many of these system impacted folks and hearing firsthand from them, telling these stories and telling me that they still felt like they were shadows in this society, despite the fact that they had already re-entered society. And I think that aside from these like barriers to voting, for example, as Joseph explained, there's so many barriers to housing and barriers and lack of resources to continuing educational and professional endeavors. And I think that even aside from these physical or tangible barriers, there are so many other barriers, like the psychological or other trauma that many of these folks are carrying with them, that they're carrying with them from the beginning, and that, again, don't just disappear once they come out. And this is often overlooked in a lot of these policy discussions. And I think that some of the priorities need to revolve around ensuring that these folks get assistance like mental health resources and community and emotional support. Again, it goes back to these psychological and different kinds of burdens and trauma that these folks are juggling. And it's, I think more than anything, it's about showing more compassion and being more humane in these endeavors. And I think that first and foremost, like a policy objective that is well within reach is ensuring that incarcerated folks or formerly incarcerated folks, people with these lived experiences, people with these lived realities, are that they have a seat at the table where these policy discussions, these policy decisions are being crafted, because it is often the case that policymakers are so far removed from these realities, and these are the very realities that are threatening the lives of many folks in the inside. And so with that, Calvina, can you please share with us what is critical for people who are surviving the impacts of long or short-term incarceration?
Thank you, Catalina. Hello, everyone. The most critical thing that I got from long-term incarceration is that you don't have to end your life after incarceration, that you can always follow your dreams. My dream was to always go to college, and look where I'm at. I'm in college. My dream was to become a writer. I'm writing my memoir. My dream was to be sitting on a panel right now. I'm sitting on that panel in front of you tonight. Anything that you put your heart to, you can do it. There's always at least one person that sees you. I got that from my favorite book that I've read so far, Free Centauria. There's always at least one person that has your best interest in their heart. I'm facing challenges right now, but I will never give up my dream, no matter what. As Joseph said, it's not going to be easy because we are stereotyped, just because of the fact that we were in prison. But our dream does not have to stop. That's the most critical thing that I want you all to know today, that our life doesn't have to end with our incarceration, whether it's long-term or short-term. I've managed to get my Corey sealed, but I'm still facing challenges. I'm still facing housing issues. My Corey has been sealed for a while now, but it doesn't get better, but you don't have to give up. Always continue to follow your dreams. It's possible. We are stereotyped, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't go for what we want to go for. It's possible. I'm sitting here in front of you. I never imagined that I would be here, but I'm here. That's the most critical thing that I want you to know. I gave up a long time ago, but it was not meant for me to give up, and I'm here. That's the most critical thing I want you to know. And V, I want to know what is the most critical thing from your experience as a long-term incarceration.
All right, first and foremost, I want to say peace to everybody that's joining. And thank you so much, Calvina, for asking this very important question. So what is critical? Well, me, Devon McNeil, as a returning citizen after spending the last 2 decades, 20 years of my life in prison, I will have to say first and foremost, a person having a firm and positive support system to come home to. I mean, I can't stress enough how important it is to have a support system. Fortunately, I was able to come home to a situation where I moved right in with my longtime girlfriend of 28 years and our beautiful 20-year-old daughter. And like Joseph, it was a state of heavenly bliss, waking up every day in my own bed, waking up with my family, waking up to our beautiful dog, having family around me, people calling me. But then reality set in, and once again, fortunately, I was able to find a job within a month and a half being home. And I'm thankful for that. And I'm blessed. But when reality set in, I never fully understood how serious it is when one has not changed his internal world, meaning his thinking, prior to being released back in society. It is so critical for one to change his way of thinking, because I'm exposed to some of the same things I was exposed to in the lifestyle I was living 20 years ago. But because I've done the work internally, these things don't affect me, but they are still triggers. So one has to be very careful on his thinking process when he re-enters into society. Secondly, we have to deal with the inner turmoil, meaning the deaths that we have probably experienced while incarcerated. What do I mean by that? What I mean is this. I lost my mother in 2016 to a fentanyl overdose. Prison allowed me to not have to deal with the mourning process of losing my mom for many reasons. But it wasn't until I was back in society and I woke up one day realizing that, wait a minute, I will never see my mom again. But not only that, a month and a half before I was released, I also lost my middle brother to a fentanyl overdose. These are some of the things that I thought I was prepared for. And today, I realize I'm not, because I haven't even fully mourned. So I would recommend those who are coming home, it is so critical that we get our internal worlds in order to the best of our ability. We have to be ready for what society is going to throw at us. And with that, I'll say peace and blessings to everybody. And the next question is to my brother Raheem, who I highly respect. So from the readings that we have done, Raheem, do you feel as though the school to prison pipeline affected your own life? And does this shape your understanding of the role of higher education as it relates to you personally?
Peace, man. Peace. How you guys doing? I definitely, from this class alone, I don't think I've ever had a way of seeing the trauma. It was blocked out. So what I mean by that is, when I was in school, I was expelled for having a Swiss Army knife on my keychain. I used it for work every day. Never did I think, it was considered a weapon. Same thing with when people get caught with, nail clippers. It's something that, the definition for no tolerance, is the problem, because there has to be some tolerance, there has to be some understanding, some communication, and to put a group of people in a class, it's the same, when you're incarcerated and you get out and you carry around that stigma. When you get kicked out of school, it's hard. You can't do things. You know what I mean? If it was hard, it was real hard for me. It took a bunch of years to realize like that I had opportunity that I missed out on, that was 10 times harder for me to get back into school. Do you have your transcripts? Do you have all this stuff that you don't have? Because as soon as they cast you aside, there is no program, there is no one to help. If you have a group of people who, are problem in school, wouldn't you want to fix the problem instead of just sweeping them away? So I really think that reading in class, it cemented the fact that I knew all these things, but now that I know it, I want to do something about it. I want to fix this for other people that are like me, that look like me, that have to go through stuff. You know, I hear my uncles in my head, like, hey, nephew, don't do this, and nephew, all these little things that they would say that you're like, yeah. And you get older and you're like, damn, I should have really listened to that. I should have paid attention. Like, I understand why they say that. So like, it's never too late to help. And, the readings in class have been incredible because it just opens your eyes even more. It fuels the fire to fix something. Like, there is something that's wrong with pipeline, from school to prison. Like, that's crazy that the only option is to push all these people into a path that exactly where it's heading. I couldn't see that path. I just was walking, with my blinders on, and it took a while to take them off and to realize, like, wow, if I'm going to do something, then education is definitely the key that I need to open a door to be able to have any possibility. So I think that's all I really have to say. But I wanted to ask Will, how do you see the role of college education based on your own history?
So, yeah, I mean, I think I think I prepared for something a little bit different. So I'm sorry, but I can touch on sort of both. But one thing I wanted to talk about is just like I've had like really interesting conversations with a bunch of people throughout class, and just like hearing, Raheem, what you have to say like now and before about the school to prison pipeline. You see, I think like when it comes to education, how different sort of these processes play out for the same actions, how like the same actions have different consequences. And I think my schooling was characterized by, like the school to prison pipeline is something that like, for me, I learn about it and I'm like, oh man, that's really messed up. And, like Raheem might learn about it, he's like, yeah, this is all true, right? Like, cause from lived experience. And there's something to, I think, that experience. Like, you can read this stuff and be like, you can do all the theory analysis and be like, oh, that's really, really a bad thing. But then you speak to someone and you realize that like as many, differences in like, opportunities that one has in the other, there's also similarities in the way that like the decisions that like young people make and like what they do and like what a young person goes through. And so you see that like, the way that you get pushed into the school to prison pipeline, it's nothing abnormal. It's not even, it's like, of course there's all these conditions that create certain circumstances that make things more difficult, but it's also just like, like low level, like drug use, like marijuana use in school, stuff like that, that like, no matter how much privilege your school has, it's every high school is abundant with it. But you see how for one group of kids, like specifically privileged white kids, it ends up with like, oh, let's, worst case scenario, let's send this kid to rehab and get him back into school. And with other people, it ends up with expulsion, eventually prison. So like, I think the key is just like, you can read the analysis, but hearing the stories and having the conversations makes a different impact. And like, just because I think there's a certain human element to like sharing stories that things resonate in a different way. And even more so, like you can read something on a page, but when someone confirms it with their lived experience, I think that's like one of the things that my turn has brought to me is just like the overwhelming, it just sort of hits you over the head. Like, this is not, this is not out there. This is not like theory that exists. This is like, this is stuff that we really need to change, and it's urgent. Like it's urgent changes need to be made. And I mean, yeah, so I'm just really thankful for the class and just learning with everyone. But I'm gonna drop a sorry, Raheem, I didn't fully answer the question you asked. I think I got mixed up a little bit. So I want to ask Hector, what have you valued about your participation in My Turn, and what have you learned?
I value the hope and faith that I've gained in myself while attending class with my peers because like all my life, I just played the streets. I always thought it was just about the streets and my guys. Those are the only ones that believed in me. And to be in class with like so many other people who come from different, like I said, walks of life, and they just motivate me and push me and believe in me the way they do, gives me like a different outlook on life because I feel like it's not just what I believed in before, where it was just me and my guys in the streets. I feel like there's more that I can do now, especially with all the things that I'm learning while attending class. So it just feels good to know that there's other people out there who, even if they don't know you from a hole in the wall, have faith that you can do better in life, or even knowing that you come from where you came from, they will want to even try to put the time in and effort to help you change the person who you are, you know? So I definitely value that feeling that I get while in class amongst you all. You know, y'all definitely inspire me in so many ways because I was very one-track minded growing up, you know? So I definitely appreciate you all. And it's like, just feel the things that like as far as for what I've learned, I feel like now it's just like it's not what you know, it's who you know, you know? It's no longer about like my older brother used to always tell me, like, show me your friends, you'll show me your future. And I used to just look at him like, bro, you don't know what you're talking about. And it's like he was 100% right because the guys I hung around with, I just kept going in and out of jail, in and out of jail, in and out of jail. So it's like it's true. If you hang around guys that's just running the streets and doing things, you're either gonna end up dead or in jail, you know? So it's like you have to find a new walk in life, a new way in life. You know, you got to find people who want better for themselves so you can want better for yourself. And if you can't find that, I know for a fact that if a person can't find it, you're just always going to be that same individual. So it's like you can't be afraid to change just because you're afraid of what other people that you grew up with or that you know from, you know, years ago will think of you. You know, it's not about being afraid of change. It's about being afraid of not changing. You know, so it's just, I was just getting a lot while attending this class. So I definitely appreciate you all and thank you all so much, especially Hillary, my boy Joseph, you know, because he definitely pushed me to attend too. Diana, if she's here, you know, everybody, man. I value you all. Trust me, I definitely do. I look forward to every Tuesday, Wednesday, even the Zooms, you know. So with that said, then I'm just gonna pass it off to Christelle. I'm gonna ask you what have you valued about your participation in My Turn, and what have you learned?
Thank you, Hector.
You're welcome.
Like, likewise, the faith and hope I've gained, like, and just like that's just been perpetuated through the My Turn program, has just been one of the highlights in the community from all my classmates, and like just the energy and the drive, the fuel that, like, kind of what Raheem was saying, this fuel that we all are starting to have, and thinking about like my Black identity and coming to college, there are a lot of terms that I never had the luxury of taking time to reflect on. You just kind of lived the experience. And then coming to academia, I learned that a lot of times in academia, there's a lot of theorizing without understanding that these are lived experiences of people. So we might read about things like, you know, surveillance, the carceral state, just the interconnected nature of gender and incarceration, all these things. And you can look at it and say, oh, these are theories, and just leave the class. But the reality is these are lived experiences of people. And with My Turn, we had participation with PD Green prior to being part of the class, where we had to, you know, really dwell and reflect on how we fit in certain like states of privileges, like whether that's housing security, whether that's, you know, racial privileges, etc. And I feel like being in my turn has not only helped me take the chance to reflect on my own experiences with like zero tolerance policies in my own high schools, and then transitioning to a private institution like Tufts, seeing the shift, even the concept of surveillance of one's Black identity. I think for me, my turn has just been a lot of unlearning and also appreciating, and also a mix of just like great gratitude that I'm amongst people who also have the same desire to run this marathon, because these are conversations we need to keep having if we want to see the prison industrial complex not have this to be dismantled essentially. So yeah, with that, Sawyer, if you would also like to answer the same question, what have you valued about your participation with My Turn? What have you learned?
Thank you, Christelle, and very well said. I'm going to start off just by saying one thing, and this specifically reflects on what do I value about this program and learning alongside tough students and people that were formerly or still justice involved. You cannot learn about the prison industrial complex if you do not do it through the lens of those who have lived that experience. Let me say this again. You cannot learn or understand the prison industrial complex without doing so through the lens of those who have lived it. That is very important. I think that for many different disciplines, that is extremely important. Specifically this one, I come to class every day and we have that sense of community that all these other students are talking about. We have built trust and we have built understanding for one another and are able to share very deep, intimate, and oftentimes traumatic experiences with one another. That's extremely important in order to understand the challenges that are facing, but then also to start in order to, what Christelle was mentioning, to begin us dismantling the prison industrial complex. This should not exist. And it was hard, if not almost impossible, to fully see this picture before I entered the classroom with everyone else. So I'll keep that short, and I want to hear from some of other My Turn students as well. Thanks for listening to me today. I want to ask Marie, what have you learned and what do you value from these experiences?
Hi, I'm sorry. I mean, it's been incredibly awesome just being able to be part of the My Turn program. Like a lot of people, it's been very hard trying to navigate through coming back home and dealing with so many different hurdles, like Joseph mentioned, that all of us go through. Sorry, I have like a bunch of kids that I was feeding. And then so it's like My Turn has really helped me kind of get a grasp on my future. Like I never thought that I would ever have the time to go back to school. I've been out of school for over 20 years and I didn't have any plans of going back to school. And then so that kind of My Turn just kind of fell on my lap and felt like it was a blessing. It was a blessing from God that this program existed. It's been very challenging going through the program, but at the same time, it has been very inspiring. Being able to be in a class with my fellow ex-incarcerated men and women, just being able to see how much people are fighting to stay out of prison, just to be able, just even with the Module 2 students who's been part of the class, has been very inspiring, learning with them, learning from them. So with Hilary, the teacher who has been such an incredible support to all of us. So I'm just very grateful to be in the class. I'm just grateful to all the support that we've gotten. I wanted to add to the first question that was asked by Elise. Like I do feel like being incarcerated, I was incarcerated for 18 months at Framingham, and I kind of felt like I was very alone, and felt like I was gonna be shunned when I get out from the outside world, that I would never be able to get back on my feet. And I'm just being amazed by the incredible support that I've gotten since I've been out, by the House of Returning Citizen, for Project Place, just really being able to see that there are people that are fighting for us while we inside, and I never thought that was happening. I just thought that I was in there by myself, and then when I get out, I was gonna be all by myself, having to deal with so many difficulties. But the support that I've gotten from all these different programs that are in place that I never did ever knew they existed, have been so uplifting for me, and have given me courage to really fight for my rights, and to really fight for a better future. So I just want to say thank you to everybody that support My Turn, and to all the organizations that support people who are coming home. It's very well needed, because we go through a lot. It's very difficult. You know, I've been out for about 6 months. I'm still struggling to get back into normal life. You know what I mean? I have a 9-year-old daughter that I'm trying to raise the proper way. So I'm just grateful. Even the My Turn students have been there, helping me and listening to me. Thank you so much for the module students, the Medford students who they're very open to listen. They're great listeners, and that I've been able to share my struggles and able to share the stuff that I'm going through, and they were able to listen and giving me really good sound advice. So I just want to say I'm grateful just to be part of this program, and thank you.
I'll hop in. For me, I think one of the major things that makes this program in this community feel so unique is how intentional it feels, compared to so many other educational spaces I've been in. This feels like one where we're all coming with sort of a shared vision and mission, and also just this desire to connect and build community in a space and across lines where particularly the carceral state and our legal system really don't want those connections to form. So being able to share space and learn from each other, and to do it all through literature and around texts where we get to sit down and talk about a poem or a story and hear how vastly different other people's interpretations or relations to it are, has been, really special and just different than anything I've ever experienced. So I'm just really grateful to share that with all of you. And I'm gonna pass it to Arlise with the same questions, wondering what have you learned and what have you valued about your participation in this program?
Hi, everyone, again. I just want to say that it's been a blessing. It's been an amazing experience to be a My Turn student at Tufts University, working with the Medford students. I adore all of you guys, the whole class. I've learned a lot. Hillary has us studying our butts off. I especially enjoyed reading Prison to Pipeline book. And last week we got our sweatshirts. I don't know if anybody can see. So thank you, Hillary. It's been an amazing experience. But the most thing I'm proud of is that I have a 20-year-old who's very proud of me. And a lot of you on here know my situation with my daughter, rebuilding the relationship with her after coming back from prison. And for her to say she's proud of me was the best thing I could have gotten last week when I showed her my sweatshirt. And I just want to say thank you to Hillary, thank you to Jim Carey, Lynn Sullivan, and everybody who supports this program, Project Place. And with that, I'll pass it to Joseph.
Yeah, so if somebody else would like to add on to that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think I'm up next. um, yeah, I just first of all want to express my gratitude for being in this class and being in this environment. Like Fiona was saying, just I feel like this is a really special and rare opportunity for me to be in a class that feels this intentional. And I just want to say thank you for that, and thank you to everyone who has shared so far tonight. I think I came into this class thinking a lot about sort of the gap between theory and lived experience, which people have talked about tonight so far, but sort of like ways to bridge that gap and why that gap feels so large, and sort of the misconception that like those with a lot of theoretical knowledge can't also have lived experience, and the other way around. And I think this class is really a testament to the fact that that is obviously not true. I think those of us who came in with a lot of more like theoretical knowledge have been able to hear these lived experiences and also share our own, and that I think has been really valuable for me. And I'm thinking a lot too about just abolitionist theory and abolitionist work, and whose voices are at the forefront of that, and who is really like invited to the table to speak on that, or like to be the leaders in abolitionist work. And I think it's not even about like pull up more chairs to the table. I think, you know, let's deconstruct the table. Let's build a new table. Let's put more voices at the forefront and uplift those who have been most affected by our justice or injustice system. And I think that's one thing that I'm taking away from this class, just whose voices need to be at the center of this work. So thank you all again, and I'll pass it on to Michael.
All right, thanks, Sarah. Hey, everyone. Yeah, so like on the same question that everyone else has been kind of touching on, being left with like lots of thoughts, not sure if I can say it nicely and concisely, but I guess I'll try live. I guess what I'm taking away a lot from this experience is like the, I guess, surprising sense of community and camaraderie I feel with like all of the students. Just like personal about me, like hearing like all the students be so vulnerable and sharing like their struggles and their backgrounds. I remember getting to Tufts as like a freshman, and I'm like a first generation college student who also comes from like a home where like drug abuse that wasn't the most stable, and like talking to social workers and things like that. So getting to Tufts as like a freshman and being in like places and spaces with the typical like college freshman was sometimes very isolating. But I remember one of the things once I started, you know, doing the work, learning the terms and theory, like I think Raheem and Christelle so eloquently touched on how empowering that feels. And it's kind of, I'm still on this journey as well, kind of dealing with all of this and being in a class like this where so many students, regardless of like their relationship with incarceration, have so much to bring and so much vulnerability. It just amazes me still that I get to sit and like talk about these things with them. People bring in their different perspectives, and just really thinking about how, honestly, I'm kind of like learning that theory is lived experience, because like sitting in class, whether we're talking about like whatever, we all have our own personal relationship to that. It's really cool to have a space where we get so many diverse voices and opinions, and like people sharing their stories, and the vulnerability that that necessitates for this sort of learning and dismantling, like others have mentioned. So that makes sense. But yeah, I'm just consistently amazed with everyone in the class and what they bring, and the discussions we have, and like the jokes we make, and everything around that. I think I'll go ahead and pass it to my man, Joseph.
Well, so yeah, so tonight we have an opportunity to share a little bit more with a few of our panelists if they would like to open up. You know, again, we have a few of you guys and girls, women. You know, we have about a half an hour left. So if anybody would like to share, please raise your hand. Pete, would you like to share a little bit? You're on mute, brother. V, you're on mute.
Yeah, I apologize. I was trying to raise my hand. Y'all know I'm getting used to this technology stuff. Yeah, I would definitely like to share. Thank you, baby. First, like I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this screen and I see so many different faces. And it brings back a memory of me in elementary school. I'm from Brockton, Mass. And Brockton is a very, very diverse community. So when I look at this plate, when I look at the screen, I'm like, wow, like how did I get here? Like how did I get back to this place? And being back in school is almost like it's almost childlike for me. I didn't really enjoy going to school when I was young, because like I shared, I started, my street career very early, and that took up a lot more time, a lot of my attention. So now being in school again, I have to thank everybody that's in the class, most importantly, Professor Hillary and everybody that helps keep this program together. Like I mean that from my heart, because like Marie, I didn't plan on going back to school. I had other plans, but when the opportunity presented itself, I hopped right on it because I understand the value of education. I'm also here because I left so many of my comrades, my good friends behind, who, if certain laws don't change, their reality is they're gonna die in prison. That's just the reality of it. And that burdens me and troubles me every single day. So me sitting in this classroom, I'm happy, I'm proud, I'm thankful, but I'm also pained because I know other men that deserve to be here with me. And with that, I'll say peace.
Yeah, so let me see who. Hector, would you like to elaborate a little bit more?
For all y'all who don't know, Control Z undoes all mistakes. I learned that from Miguel. Every time I look at the computer, it's the first two buttons I look at, Control Z. So if y'all ever make a mistake and you want to just go on back, just Control Z. Thank you, Miguel, man. I appreciate that. I'm gonna pass it all again.
Okay, does anyone who has already shared want to share on the value of my turn?
I'll say something really quick. Hi again, everyone. My values on my turn, as I was sharing earlier, has a lot to do with my self-advocacy. I'm learning a lot about self-advocacy as I'm going through challenges outside of my education, and the way I self-advocate for myself, I'm learning through my turn and the mentors that are in my life today. Because if I hadn't have had these mentors in my life, I'm pretty sure the way I'm self-advocating for myself and the challenges I'm facing today, I'd be in a whole different situation, a whole different ball game. I look at these students as I once wanted to be in their position, but right now it's my turn. I'm a little older than they are, and they're teaching me something, and that's okay. You know what I mean? So my values on my turn, it's not too late to learn a little bit of, self-respect, self-dignity, a little bit, it's not too late to learn those things. You know what I mean? Because if it wasn't for these mentors in my life, the situation I'm going through, I would have exploded a long time ago, and things wouldn't be, I wouldn't be sitting in my turn. So I just appreciate you all. Really, I really do. I wish Alex was on tonight, but he'll be here in December. I thank him so much for teaching me how to use a computer. I value being able to use a computer today. to even sit behind that computer and type up my essays. You know what I mean? To read and learn about my history. They don't teach us history in schools anymore. You know, James Baldwin says it best, you know? I enjoy that. I enjoy reading today. No, that's the value I get out of my turn. I enjoy reading, connecting with the readers, the readings that I'm reading, teaching me about my history. I enjoy that, you know, and I just appreciate this program so much. But that's my values on it. And I really am not going to give this up for anything, nothing, if I can help it. And I just appreciate this program so much. Thank you.
Okay, so what I would like to do, I would like to speak on the value of the TUPIT program a little bit. I started in 2018, and Tufts University entered Concord Prison through the Inside Out program. It was very unique. It was very different. It was an opportunity for me to interact on a college level, and not only just that, but also interact with students, you know, from the community. This was certainly mind-blowing, especially in a prison setting, predominantly because there's never an opportunity for citizens to be inside of a prison outside solely of a visiting area. You know, they were all in the classroom. So there was like about 10 students from Medford with about 10 convicts, you know, from a different array of crimes. And you would have never even thought that anybody in that class had committed a crime, the way we interacted with one another. We quickly grew bonds, you know, and by the time the Inside Out class was concluded, within what, 3 months, and that was seeing each other once a week, we felt like we've knew each other already for about a year, you know, and it was just amazing how quickly those bonds grew and how sad everybody was in the end when it concluded. And I think this was part of the reasons why Claudia just stayed hanging on as well, you know, honestly, because it was just, it was a way that we just all bonded, you know, and, you know, I know a lot of the
Joseph, if you can hear us, your screen and audio froze. This is Arthur.
I would just like to jump in for a second. Well, I just asked Joseph to jump off and jump back in. But I'd like to welcome Arthur and just say that Arthur's been, he was driving and wasn't able to be there here at the beginning, but he is one of the key developers of not only the My Turn program, but also the TUPIT program. And I really haven't done, I couldn't have done any of this work without Arthur. He's been so much more than a kind of co-thinker. There must be a better word than that, but he's really been an activist friend, a kind of, and then of course a deep friend, and somebody who I call on all the time. And so I just want to thank you, Arthur. I know many people on the screen are Partakers mentors. Arthur is the organizer of the executive director of Partakers. Our students on the inside each have a team of an amazing group of people from the community who volunteer their time to support our students. And many of them continue to support our students, like Shakir and Joseph's mentor teams once people come out. So I'm really glad you're here, Arthur. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. It's a pleasure to be here and to see everybody like this. I just want to say that programs like My Turn is such a pleasure in creating them and to work with Tufts University and Hillary, because it takes courage to do this. My Turn didn't just happen. There was a lot of work by a lot of people, and it's a joy in creating a program supporting intentional interventions that strike at the very core of inequality. I've been incarcerated. Many of our panelists have. So we understand that these central elements of life that we get out of programs like this are dignity, hope, and education. It's so important that these programs are supported and created by people that had lived the experience. So I'm so proud to be a part of it. And I just want to say to all the students in my turn, everybody in the classrooms, before this happened, we were praying so hard that it became what it is now. And I just want to say that you couldn't see the work that went on in the background for the 2 years after building the program, how hopeful we were to get to this point of where it is now. We could not be prouder of you. I just want to say that. Do not take that with a grain of salt. It is a collective thought process in the group setting that you're in. It's just so wonderful to see that. As a formerly incarcerated person who has now come full circle to creating programs to helping formerly incarcerated people, this is a joy. I can't even say it more. And Hillary, my partner in crime, thank you so much.
Thanks, Arthur. I'm gonna pass the baton back to Joseph, who I think got back on. And one of the main, really just disabling challenges is how hard Wi-Fi can be in various housing situations. Joseph, are you back?
Apparently so.
Okay. You want to open things up, or?
Excuse me?
You keep start back where you were.
Okay, certainly. So, the experience while incarcerated and doing the TUPIT program, it was something that allowed everybody in prison to more or less have a purpose. It was no longer just doing it one day at a time. It was now, man, did you study for that? Did you read what we're supposed to talk about tomorrow? Or, on the sake of, because Kim Ruan's here, did we all do our math the right way? And that was just another challenge all in itself, because she forcefully believed in all of us that we would appreciate math a little bit differently. I do, but I still am not that good, but it was interesting being incarcerated and having college while incarcerated, because not only did the guys that were engaged in the classes were so dedicated and so possessed by learning the material and writing their essays and checking their essays and sharing their essays with one another. And as I've learned, a lot of college students don't do that on the campus. They don't share essays with each other. In prison, we were all running around saying, hey, yo, read my essay. You know what I mean? I need you to double check this before it goes before the professor. So we all wanted to see each other excel in an opportunity that we've never had before, and it had an effect on the rest of the population as well, to the point where guys that were not accepted in the class and guys that heard about it but didn't even try to put in started to ask us for our reading material and the essay prompts so they could read the material, write an essay, and submit it to us that were in the class so that we could go over their material and grade them, basically. It was just maddening because it was just more work for us. But nonetheless, it was something that we all enjoyed, because we understood the effect that education was beginning to have on not just those that were in the college program, but on just the prison population itself, where even the officers while incarcerated were asking us, discreetly, of course, what were we studying and what did we think about it? And they even shared their opinions if they read certain materials about what we were already studying. So TUPIT while in prison was remarkable, is remarkable. It's life-changing. There are so many men that are in the classes now, and with COVID going on, they are, so dependent on these classes because it gives them something to escape from their reality right now. Imagining how hard it is already out here having to navigate in an isolated manner because we are fearful of contracting a disease or a germ that could, harmfully hurt ourselves or others that we love. I could just imagine what those men are still going through, because I just left that situation a few months ago, you know. So with college being behind bars, with this situation going on, COVID-19, I know it's certainly be a relief, you know, and at the same time, I know it is also, you know, they also fear what the future holds because of COVID-19, you know, and the lockdown scenarios that the prisons have to go through, you know, in relation to TUPIT program, being a participant of the My Turn programs immediately after being released. I would say that My Turn post-incarceration, for anybody that was incarcerated, you know, it's a platform for us to engage ourselves intellectually, but at the same time, I think it's also very cathartic because I'm amongst peers that have experienced some of the things that I have went through. And when I say something, I know some of my peers automatically understand where I'm coming from, and I do not need to elaborate any further. And that to me is a blessing because not a lot of people really truly understand what it was like to be incarcerated and to have gone through what we've gone through, you know, and then come home and have to deal with a lot of the things that we deal with daily, specifically like as Calvina had mentioned earlier about the stereotypes, you know, it's constant prejudices for a person that was incarcerated to come home and feel like a second-class citizen. You know, it's everybody finding an excuse as to why they will not hire you, but not tell you straight up that they're not hiring you because you're an ex-felon. You know, or if you were to try to seek an apartment, you know, telling you that they're not willing to give you a lease to your apartment because you're an ex-felon. You know, they will find reasons to walk around that bush to not tell you directly to your face that you're unworthy, that you are not the citizen that they would like to have on their property, you know. So there's constant hurdles, and being in the My Turn program allows us to, you know, throw off one's emotions, one's thoughts, and, you know, open up one's arms, you know, with, of course, respect and social distancing, you know. You know, we have to respect that, but certainly it's a blessing. My Turn is a blessing. It's also a challenge because, you know, for us, a lot of us that were incarcerated, it was a long time without education. You know, a lot of us didn't have education for many years, not even just while incarcerated. So there's many challenges that come with it, but I know with the individuals that are here, we all face those challenges and we all support one another. You know, we see it in each other's faces when there's a struggle, and we lend a theoretical shoulder saying, listen, we can make this, you know what I'm saying? Let's support one another and we strive on, you know. So My Turn has certainly been a blessing for myself, and I know also for everybody else that's in the program. I would like to thank, you know, before we go on to an opportunity for everybody to have a question to ask, you know, the panel in general or specifically to any individual on the panel, I would like to thank Tufts University, you know, for the platform, you know, just an opportunity for, you know, Tisch College to have, you know, for the support of Tisch College and, you know, Hillary Bender and everybody that's behind it, you know. Just Tufts University is that gateway, you know, for the platform. You know, I would also like to thank Dean Jim Glazer and Dean Solomon, also Arthur Benbury and the partakers. You know, that's a critical part of all this, you know, with allowing, you know, people from the community to come in and visit us, you know, because there's a lot of men behind those walls that do not receive visits, and to receive visits from positive members from the community, from obviously a different walk in life, it's a breath of fresh air as well. You know, it changes a person's paradigm, you know, if it can, you know, so thank you a lot for that. Also, Lynn Sullivan and the Petey Green, you know, that's, again, the TAs are remarkable. You know, when they come in with that good energy and they want to help. It's certainly a blessing. So thank you for that as well. the Office of Returning Citizens, thank you as well for all your support. I know they're very supportive. They call me all the time when I've needed it, and always checked up on me even when I didn't check in back. So that's a blessing. I know that from personal experience. Again, to Project Place and Jim Kerry, thank you for your support. Jim, you was helping me today. Project Place was helping me today. Thank you. And I know they've helped already some of us on the panel. And, as well as to many other of the My Turn partners. Also the Dorchester Bay and Linda Mello, thank you for your support. Thank you for allowing us a place. With that, I would like to open it up to everybody or anyone that would like to have a question. We have time for maybe one or two.
I'd like to ask something,
Yes.
and I'm going to step on a question a little bit outside the box, because we've had a lot of emotions and a lot of honest talking right from the heart, and I appreciate each and every one of you who have shared your stories and your triumphs and your struggles, and I'm just so proud of everybody. But on another note, this is going to be the first Thanksgiving for a lot of you. How do you feel about having your first holidays?
So I'll speak real briefly on that. My last holiday that I celebrated, I want to say, was possibly in 1992. Incarcerated since a juvenile, in and out of juvenile custody to adulthood. The last time I had an opportunity to celebrate Thanksgiving was in 1999. I was out. I was invited by my girlfriend at the time. I was invited by many friends to participate. The reality is, because I had spent so many of my teenage years incarcerated, I did not know how to celebrate with anybody. So I decided to wander the streets alone and smoke marijuana just to relieve the stress. Today, I find myself, because of an extraordinary situation where family that I had paroled to could not more or less deal with my history of incarceration and did not know how to quite, navigate with that with me. I found myself in another placement called the Brook House. It's unfortunate being there because they had barred anyone from leaving there on Thanksgiving. So this would have been my first Thanksgiving to celebrate with any family, and I do not have that opportunity to do so because of the house that I'm in currently. Pass it off to anybody else.
Will the house at least have Thanksgiving there for you?
They will have Thanksgiving, but it's reminiscent of prison. It's a place where we will not be celebrating with those we love. I barely know anybody in that house, and I really don't care to, celebrate in a place where I do not know anyone, and where the staff like to act like they're corrections officers. So it's very reminiscent of prison, and it's just going to be another year where I do not get to celebrate, fully with those that I would love to celebrate with.
I'm sorry to hear that. Thank you.
This is Devon speaking. To answer your question, this is will be my first Thanksgiving home after 20 years of incarceration, and it's painful and joyful at the same time. I'll have a chance to see my two daughters. Hopefully, if my oldest daughter comes from California, I'll have a chance to be with, my lady who I've been with for a very long time. But once again, I won't be able to see my mom. And for me, growing up, there was nothing like, no matter where I went to eat, I always ate at mama's first and then ventured out. And depending on my lifestyle and where my head was at, I might even go back for seconds and thirds, if y'all know what I mean. But yeah, so I look forward to it. But it's gonna be kind of it's intriguing because I don't eat meat anymore. So I want to know what my lady's gonna whip up. She don't eat meat either, so this is gonna be we're gonna have fun with this Thanksgiving and see what we can what she can put together, because I can't cook for nothing. But thank y'all.
I got a quick question for Joseph. Are you allowed to have somebody bring you food there, bro?
We could do takeout from what I understand.
Just take out,
No,
so
no.
can't nobody drop you off no food?
No, you gotta only order it, and it has to be checked before it comes into my possession.
All right, bro.
Really? Like I couldn't
Yeah.
like drop off a meal?
Nah, I don't think so. I don't think so. They only allow food to come in from restaurants.
See what we can do.
I just want to jump in for a second and acknowledge, first of all, what a wonderful question and what a powerful statement from both of you about that. But I just want to also acknowledge Lynn Sullivan as a really central, dear friend, central partner, somebody who has tremendous wisdom, experience, expertise, and has given so much to me and to so many students at Tufts and to our My Turn students. And wow, don't know, wouldn't be doing this without you. And I'm just feel very, very blessed to have you in our community. So
Thank you, Hillary. To be honest with you, I feel like I'm the one that's blessed to be a part of this. I get to see these amazing people grow into the human beings that they're meant to be. Just sort of get lost along the way. As a formerly incarcerated person, I sort of got those bumps in the road too. But you know what? If we just get back up and we go through, fight over the next couple of bumps, we'll be fine. And we survive through them all, and we learn and we grow. And I get to watch each and every one of them grow. Not just them, but all the students that are working alongside of you. You're teaching them and they're teaching you two totally different environments, and it's coming together as one. And you both grow, you all grow in your own ways. So it's fantastic to watch that. And I know the holidays are going to be hard for some of you coming home too, because I can remember the first holiday I came home. If it wasn't for the recovery house that I was in, I probably wouldn't have handled it too well because I didn't have much family at the time. So it was, I got to cook for everybody there. That's where I got my mind into it, so I could feel that holiday in the spirit. I cooked for everybody in the recovery house. And then I did it for the next 4 years later, every year. On Thanksgiving, I would go back to that house and cook for everybody again. And unfortunately, I can't do that this year. And I don't know, I'm having a little hard time figuring out what I'm supposed to do now. Because that's where I spent mine. So I get you. You know, it's a little difficult with the COVID right now. So be safe. Whatever you do, please be safe. And practice a lot of self-care, because emotions come up and a lot of things going on right now. So please just take care of yourselves. And if you need any extra support, you know, reach out. I'm around. You know, Arthur's around, Hillary's around, you know, Claudia's around. We're here for you. So please.
Can I make a suggestion also? I like to just say that I know these are tough times right now for everybody because of everything that's going on and everything. But I will say this. When this crap is over with, we are going to have a Thanksgiving dinner for everybody. We're going to invite all of y'all. We're going to have an occasion. Everybody on this screen, mark my word, okay? You're going to be invited to one hell of a feast, okay, to celebrate what we're missing now. So it's okay, you know, get through this. When it's over with, you are all invited. We're going to put it together. We're going to fund it. We're going to have a great feast, and everybody's invited. That's going to be one hell of a Thanksgiving dinner. Okay.
We're gonna have a hell of a Thanksgiving dinner.
We're going to plan this. Okay. We're going to make up. You know how it is. We're going to make up a lot of time.
We will make up a lost time. That means you're gonna have everything
So,
besides just turkey.
This is in the plan. Okay.
I love that plan, Arthur. I love it.
It's going to happen. It's going to
Yes,
happen.
it will happen, because now that you said it, we just got to make it happen.
Yeah, we're going to have it.
Mm-hmm.
So Joseph, yeah.
So again, that was really beautiful. Thank you for the support, everybody. Thank you for this beautiful night. Thank you, everybody, for sharing on the panel. Again, thank you for your questions. Again, thank you to all the supporters, those that made it happen, from the very beginning, supporting Hillary's, vision. She's a remarkable woman. Again, we would not be here, if it wasn't for her being so stubborn. She's very stubborn, very bullheaded, and she's a remarkable person for it. And we like to thank her, personally. Everybody on the panel. I'm not gonna stop saying it. You know what I mean? She's certainly a remarkable person. Has been a great support every step of the way. Every step of the way. And again, everybody, thank you for tonight. Friends, family, everybody, thank you.
Ciao. Hi, partakers, mentors. I see you guys.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes.
Andy.
Someone asked, where can we get access to the meeting recording? Just wanted to look that up.
Yeah, that was for me. Hi guys. Thank you for sharing. A student from California. And yeah, my classmates also in the meeting. We're doing our grad school. We're the first semester for social work, our grad school, and then for our assignment, we needed to attend one of the research project that we were doing, and then our project consisted of basically just a history of incarceration and everything involved in it. And then so I just searched on Facebook about any events, and this popped out. So I was like, okay, this is a good opportunity, and that's why we're on here. And I was just wondering if my group members can also have access to the recording so they can learn well.
I just put my email in the chat, so if you want to grab that, you can.
Okay, sounds good.
We don't know yet. This is we're figuring things out. We're building
okay
as we fly it. So thanks for
Yeah,
being.
I learned a lot, and I was talking to my classmate, and I was just saying how I wish there was a program like this in our school.
Well, we can talk about how you might start it. So
okay,
I want to close and really thank everybody again, and just let us remind people before everybody leaves that we actually have another My Turn Symposium event on December 17th. We should have said that earlier, at this same time in this same place, and we'll post it again. But in that event, we are also going to include some of our students at the Nashua Street Jail, who some of whom know some of the people in the My Turn program. So we're really excited about that, and our partnership with Diana St. Hill and Nashua Street is just phenomenal. Diana St. Hill is a tremendous advocate for our students who are her students. She's just an amazing person, and we're TUPIT, My Turn, PD Green, we're all so lucky to have her in Massachusetts. So that will be a very exciting event. And that will be December 17th, Thursday at 7. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful night, and hopefully we'll see you in a few weeks.